Cindy, great to see you. Thanks for joining us. What are your thoughts on the announcement today?
Well, you know, First Nations have been calling for First Nations jurisdiction over child welfare going back at least 18 years when there was a joint First Nations and Government of Canada report calling for just this. But today what we heard was that there's Indigenous legislation, and that's going to be interesting because the needs of First Nations, Métis and Inuit are very distinct, and their relationship with Canada with regard to the delivery of child and family services is very distinct. What they need to avoid is some kind of lowest common denominator legislation, which won't be in the interest of anybody. So we have to see that, and we also need to see Canada break away from its pattern of refusing to fund agencies that operate under First Nations jurisdiction. Currently, they'll only fund an agency if it takes on provincial laws, and that needs to change.
Cindy, you've been pushing for changes in the child welfare system for the past 11 years, longer. How confident are you that this legislation can be put in place before the next election?
Well, if they bring the right people around the table and make the drafting process a co-drafting process with the Department of Justice, then there's some possibility of getting a good piece out there for kids. What I'm worried about is that the Department of Justice on itself, or Indigenous Services Canada, does not have the expertise to be able to draft legislation on its own for our children. And so I would like to see an open process where that is done in a co-development kind of way, where you have folks who are delivering child welfare, elders, traditional knowledge keepers, and youth in care themselves, or youth who are formerly in care, to help inform the best body of work that we can produce.
Cindy, if there was something you were hoping for in this, what would it be?
I'd like to see broad-based equality through the Spirit Bear plan. One of the things I heard the minister say today that I agree with is that no child should be removed for poverty or because they live in an inadequate home. But if that is actually going to be real on the ground, we need to end all of the inequalities in federal services for all First Nations kids, and that's what the Spirit Bear plan is. Cost out all the inequalities in water, housing, early childhood, special needs services, education. Let's see what the big ticket is when you add up all those shortfalls and then develop a plan to end it. If we don't do that, then even the very best designed child welfare system is not going to be as effective for families as it needs to be. We need to end those inequalities, and we also need to empower communities to deliver services in culturally appropriate ways that also advance Indigenous languages. That's what I'm hoping to see.
Cindy, always appreciate your insight. Good to see you, and thanks for talking with us here today.
Thanks for having me, Dennis. Have a great day.